Alright, here we go with our next episode of Monday Night Raw. This one airing live on April the 26th, 1993 from the Manhattan Center in New York. And welcome to a new era of Monday Night Raw. Welcome to the era of Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, and Bobby the Brain Heenan on commentary. It is our first show without Rob Bartlett. We start this episode of Monday Night Raw off with the opening video, and then we get into the arena where we are coming live from the Manhattan Center in New York. We see Damien Demento waiting in the ring. Vince welcomes us to New York and to the Manhattan Center and to Monday Night Raw. We get Bobby on commentary tonight with Vince and Randy. Randy hypes Lex Luger up, and Bobby says that Shawn is the best Intercontinental Champion of all time. The crowd starts a weasel chant at Bobby already. Vince introduces Damien, and out next comes Mr. Perfect. Vince says that Mr. Perfect will be hoping to become the Intercontinental Champion again when he gets his chance to face Shawn Michaels. Randy makes a comment that people will be wondering where Rob is, seeing as Bobby is out there, but he doesn't say where Rob is. He just kind of leaves it at that. And Randy and Bobby start trading insults. Vince says that when Rob heard Bobby was going to be on the show, he quit. And Bobby says that he will be there every week now. So let's hope so. Let's hope this is a sign of things to come. No more Rob. Damien whips Perfect into the ropes, and after a step over and a jump, Perfect hits a dropkick and sends Damien to the outside. Damien starts talking to himself on the outside before getting back in the ring. Mr. Perfect with a hammerlock, but an elbow from Damien, who takes over, goes for a back body drop, but gets kicked, and Damien sends Mr. Perfect to the outside, who hits the cameraman, sends him tumbling. It looks like Perfect might have really hurt his leg there. It definitely didn't seem like that was a spot that was supposed to happen. Back in the ring, and Mr. Perfect gets whipped hard into the corner. The crowd start chanting something, but I can't tell what it is. Damien dumps Perfect out, and this time he looks to land on his head. Seems like a rough night for Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect gets a right hand, but Damien comes back into control and takes Mr. Perfect into the corner head first. Perfect blocks punches, hits chops of his own. High knee from Mr. Perfect and a neck breaker, but Damien with an elbow. Goes for a splash, but Mr. Perfect gets his knees up and hits the Perfect Plex for the win. Vince says that Randy adopted a school. This is an interesting segment. So Vince tells us that Randy has adopted a school, so by which I take it that means Randy has paid some money to sponsor this school. We go to a video of a young girl called Jasmine, who's a school child, and she reads her writing that apparently won her a competition. It's a letter about drugs, and wow, that really takes a turn when she's writing from the point of view of the person in the coffin and says there's no hope with dope. We then hear... Now, I should kind of set this up. So this whole video is this one young girl sat on a stool by herself, sort of in the darkness. Okay, she's reading this poem about, letter about not doing drugs. And it takes a bit of a turn where she's sort of reading out why you shouldn't do drugs and all of this and the pain and the hurt. And then the twist is that this letter was written by the person in the coffin. And she ends by saying there's no hope with dope. We then hear the Undertaker's gong go off. The light kind of comes up. We get a different camera angle. And there he is, just standing over this young girl. And then he says in his Undertaker voice, there's no hope with dope. Yeah, that is different and creepy and weird. We come back to the arena, and Bobby says that he has a letter that he got from a fan who is here tonight, and that he is going to propose, but she doesn't know it. So he gets the guy's name wrong, and then where he's from. Bobby gets the camera to pan over to where they are in the front row, and then the camera goes the wrong way. So Bobby points out the bloke who he says it isn't, and then says it's the girl with the beard and the guy with the brown hair. Oh no, wait, no, or the other way around. Bobby is brilliant. He also says that he's going to make it his job to make sure that she says no. Just brilliant Bobby Heenan commentary, joking around there. It was brilliant. Our second match of the night is Lex Luger versus Krus. Lex is coming down to the ring and he spends some time posing and looking at himself in the mirror. Vince tells us again about the controversy around Lex's elbow and that President Jack Tunney can't do anything about it, apparently. Krus comes out and gets a decent reaction. We've not seen much of Krus so far other than with Doink, so it'll be good to see a different kind of matchup here for Krus. We get a tie-up to start, a bit of back and forth. Krus powers Lex into the corner. Lex walks around flexing and making his pecs do a dance, and now he wants a test of strength. Krus obliges and goes for it and overpowers Lex until Lex kicks him twice, and now Lex has Krus down on a test of strength. Krus powers back up and kicks Lex, gets him up and presses him overhead before slamming him down. That was pretty impressive strength there from Krus. Lex bails to the outside and goes back down the aisle before slowly walking back down to the ringside. We get a close-up of Lex's elbow so that we can see the screws poking out of it. Lex gets the advantage until Krus whips him into the ropes and hits a leapfrog and a dropkick. We come back from the break and Krus hits a belly-to-belly suplex. Krus charges into the corner and Lex misses. Lex sends Krus to the outside and comes off the apron with an axe handle and rams Krus back first into the apron. He picks Krus up and rams him back first into the ring post. We get back in the ring and Lex hooks in a bear hug, which doesn't look just quite right, what with Krus being the bigger of the men. Krus escapes, but Lex hits a power slam for the two. Lex goes for a suplex, but Krus blocks and hits one of his own. Krus ducks a clothesline and hits a back suplex. Lex then backs off and Krus hits another slam, followed by a leg drop and gets legs in the head crush thing. Lex back up, but Krus sends him back down again, still holding onto his head. Krus then spots Doink up in the crowd, so he lets go and offers for Doink to come down to the ring. Doink's at one side of the arena and points to the other balcony at the other side of the arena, and we see another Doink just as Lex hits the elbow and sends Krus to the outside, and the ref counts to 10, and that's it. Krus is counted out. Lex gets the win. So it looks like Krus is going to still be programmed with Doink for a little bit longer. Doink's still interfering in his matches. We get a video next hyping the upcoming King of the Ring. So this is our first new pay-per-view in this era. It's our new King of the Ring, and that's going to be held on June the 13th. Vince says that qualifying matches will start next weekend on Superstars, and it's going to be Mr. Perfect versus Doink. Then it will be Bob Backlund versus Lex Luger. Only the winners will qualify for the tournament. So next week on Superstars, we'll get our first King of the Ring qualifying matches. We then get a Tatanka promo for Ico Pro where he's working out in the gym. Then we get the WWF Figures advert. Then we see the couple on camera again in a love heart. We get our third match of the evening. It's going to be Mr. Hughes versus Jason Knight. The Fink and Vince and Bobby talk over each other, so we don't get to hear what any of them are saying. Debut for Mr. Hughes here on Monday Night Raw. Mr. Hughes starts off with fists, and Vince says that he thinks we'll be seeing a lot of Mr. Hughes. A slam from Hughes and a stomp sends Jason to the corner. We see Bobby watching TV. He's watching a baseball game, a music video, and something on TNT. Mr. Hughes hits a series of backbreakers, a big boot from Mr. Hughes, and a kind of chokeslam gets the win, and he tosses Jason out. Hughes, he looks nasty. He's got one of those faces that he just looks like a really nasty person, which I guess is exactly what he was going for. It was great character work there by the fact of looking nasty. He's wrestling. It's hard to tell. It's really hard, and I feel a bit mean saying when these guys are professional wrestlers. I couldn't do it, that's for sure. He didn't look great, and it's hard to tell when he's against Jason Knight. But yeah, you just want a bit more from some of these matches. Vince tells us that we will soon be hearing from Billy and Bart Gunn, who call themselves the Smoking Guns. Bobby is still trying to find something good to watch on TV. Again, that was a bit of a problem in that last match. We get a lot of Bobby trying to watch TV and we're not concentrating on the match. We get a Smoking Guns promo up next. They come riding into shot on horses. They're out in the desert with some country music playing. They introduce themselves, as in, "Hi, I'm Billy, hi, I'm Bart." They say that they are coming to face the good, the bad, and the ugly, and soon they will be riding high in the saddle. Very much a cowboy gimmick that they're coming in with here, the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart. We get a graphic telling us that up next we will get a special interview with Shawn Michaels. Back from the break, and we have another look at the soon-to-be proposed couple. Vince is in the ring, and out comes Shawn as the reigning Intercontinental Champion. He looks at his reflection in the belt and kisses the belt. Vince starts off by saying that sooner or later he will cross paths with Mr. Perfect, but he wants to start by asking about next week when he will meet Hacksaw Jim Duggan for the title. Shawn says he's sick and tired of having to come to this dump, and it's like the armpit of the nation. Shawn says these two guys at a march in Washington. I'm not sure what he was getting at there. Shawn calls Vince Vinman. Shawn says that he doesn't need anyone standing behind him. We get a fairly loud "Shawn is gay" chant, which really kind of shocked me for this era of Raw. It was, not what I was expecting from the crowd. I thought that was much more sort of Attitude Era. Bobby says something like, "Ha, if only you knew," in response to the crowd chant, which, knowing what we know about Shawn Michaels, if only you knew. Shawn pauses for a moment before carrying on. The chant is really getting quite loud now. Bobby says that they are chanting "Shawn is great." Just brilliant cover there by Bobby. Vince goes on to ask about Mr. Perfect. He calls him Mr. Grover to Shawn, and he says that Shawn put him in the trash. As we see a clip from WrestleMania, Mr. Perfect comes out surrounded by referees and officials. Shawn looks cocky in the ring. Big Mr. Perfect chant now as he tries to get in the ring and Shawn kicks him. Shawn runs out of the other side and Perfect chases him to the back. We come back and we see a couple of New York Giants players seated in the front row. Vince talks about what happened on Superstars with Bam Bam and Sherry, where Bam Bam has Sherry by the hair and Tatanka comes out and drop kicks Bam Bam off the stage. It's a fairly nasty bump for Bam Bam. Bam Bam then gets up and Tatanka jumps off the stage, fights with Bam Bam. Then, as Tatanka made his way out for his match, we are waiting for him to come out, but we cut backstage on the video screen to show Bam Bam attacking him. Bam Bam has some scissors and he cuts Tatanka's hair. So, kind of nice that this is our first, other than the Doink the Clown angle that happened on Superstars, this is our first real sort of, this happened on Superstars, we're going to show you it on Raw, kind of cross-promotion between the two programs, which was quite good. Fourth match of the evening is Typhoon versus Von Krus. Back in the arena, and Typhoon comes out to face Von Krus. They square up to each other in the middle of the ring, and Von, I'm just going to call him Von, gets the early advantage with punches in the corner, but Typhoon reverses the Irish whip, hits a big back body drop. Get Jim Duggan on the phone, and he says Shawn should be losing some sleep as they are getting in the ring to wrestle. That's exactly what's happening, Hacksaw. Von Krus on the attack while Jim and Bobby go back and forth with insults on commentary. Von with the elbow and Macho and Jim trade hose. Typhoon with the splash in the corner and a forearm, followed by a splash by Typhoon for the win. Again, another of those matches where what was happening on commentary was far more interesting and seemingly important than what was happening in the ring. Bobby is up with a microphone as he goes over to the crowd, and the woman who is going to be proposed to is shouting "Weasel" at him as he walks over. Bobby gets him to spell his name and says it's like an eye chart with all the different letters. Bobby asks him what he wants to do for this lovely lady and says what he wants to do is ask her to marry him. Bobby asks how many other women he's been with, and he says none. He asks her how many men she's been with, and she again says none. Bobby asks how they can know that they're even sexually compatible. I'm sure the crowd at this point are chanting, "Just say no." Oh, Bobby Heenan is just brilliant. Bobby says that she should go to a bikers convention for the weekend. I'm not sure what he was implying there. Bobby makes the guy get down on one knee, and she says yes. Bobby asks if they'll get married on Raw, and she says no, but Bobby says he's going to make them. We come back from the break, and Vince tells us that next week we will see Kamala and the Head Shrinkers, as well as Shawn versus Hacksaw for the Intercontinental Championship. Vince says that we'll get another interview with the couple, but instead we go to a Macho Man Slim Jim advert, and then we come back, and this time we are with Bobby. He asks to see the ring, but they don't seem to want to show it. She keeps trying to hide her hand in the ring, but the camera does get a shot. Bobby is still trying to get them to get married on Raw as we go off the air. Again, another show that was decent. It had some alright. The Mr. Perfect match, although it was against Damien Demento, was okay. Lex Krus was alright. Mr. Hughes, Jason Knight, yeah, it was one of those Raw matches from this point. Typhoon, Von Krust, just the same. The ending with Bobby was just hilarity. I'm really fast becoming a big fan of Bobby the Brain Heenan, and yeah, basically anything that he does. So that's it. That was our Monday Night Raw, episode 14, on the 26th of April. So let's have a look next time as we continue our review of every single Monday Night Raw.